And talk about first coach fired. I think it's gonna be Auburn, man. Hugh Freeze. I think he's out. Welcome into another episode of Power 4 Picks. Today we're going over the SEC, the powerhouse conference of college football. The SEC has 10 ranked teams. If you guys are unaware, the top ranks go to the top 25. So they have 10 out of the 25, which, again, no surprise really, but it is a lot of teams. I don't know if we're going to have this many teams at the end of the year be ranked, but it is a loaded, top-heavy SEC. Starting with the rankings, we have Texas at number 1. Georgia at number 5, Bama at number 8, LSU at number 9, A&M at 19, Ole Miss at 21, Florida at 15, South Carolina at 13, Tennessee at 24, Oklahoma at 18. Sorry, I went a little off rank there just because of their odds to win it are not in aligned with their rankings. But powerhouse of a conference, very difficult one for me to predict who's going to win this one. I think it can go to just about 5 teams that can win this conference. So I'm very interested to see what you got, Ethan. Welcome back. Again, we have college football starting this weekend, week 0, very exciting time. Week 1 is just around the corner. So make sure you start diving into college football, betting, as well as our content over here at Better and Green. But Ethan, what are you thinking about this SEC and this very top-heavy conference?
Yeah, should be another great year of SEC football. I know last year was pretty fantastic year in the SEC. We had some upsets with Vanderbilt kind of coming out of nowhere and being a decent team. I know LSU was heavily touted early. They kind of struggled. Florida struggled early, came on late. Really interested just to see how things go again in the SEC, especially now with Arch Manning starting at Texas. You'd think he's God the way Texas is being talked about when Arch Manning has hardly even played any snaps of college football here. But really just excited to get back into football. And as much as a fan of the Big Ten that we are, I really do enjoy rooting for as much as rooting against some of the teams in the SEC as well.
Yeah, this is going to be a very fun conference to watch this year. Texas is the preseason favorite to win the SEC at plus 270. Georgia is right behind at plus 330. Alabama plus 380, and then LSU at plus 700 are the top 4 odds on winners for the SEC. This one's tough for me. I know Texas has a battle week 1. They are at Ohio State. It's going to be a phenomenal game. Number 1 versus number 3. It's got to be one of the highest ranked week 1 games in college football history. So super excited to see how both these teams do with new quarterbacks. A lot of new offensive players for both sides of the ball, as well as defensive players. So I'm excited to see how Texas goes up against Ohio State. But that win or lose there, that won't really determine the rankings of this SEC because it's an out-of-conference game. So with a loss, Texas can still obviously make the SEC championship game. It's just an interesting game to start off the season at week 1. Georgia is a complete mystery to me. Their quarterback play is going to be an issue, but Georgia's made it however many years at the top with very mediocre quarterback play. So if it is Stockton, who I think is going to be starting quarterback, I think they're going to be okay. Bama is another question mark at quarterback, bringing in a new guy. And then I think one of the better returning quarterbacks in the league or in the country is Nussmeier from LSU. So we got a lot of talent here. I just don't know who to pick to win. I'm going to send it to you. Who are your teams to win this? Who do you think is going to win? If you do, let me hear it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm rocking the Bama hat and the Bama shirt here. I'm going to pick Bama to win it. I think LSU has a chance, but, I'm pretty outspoken on my hate for Brian Kelly, so I'm not going to give them out or root for them in a single game. Yeah, I think Bama, they're kind of an underdog just because of their, down seasons the last couple of years, even though, they've been down to Alabama standards, not really down in college football standards. But Ty Simpson getting the nod to be their starting quarterback, 4th year at Alabama. He's had 2 years under Nick Saban, now the year under Kalen DeBoer. Obviously, DeBoer 1 year removed from being in the national title game against your Wolverines. I think he's a very good and somewhat underrated successor to Nick Saban at Alabama. Um, Obviously, they reload talent like really nobody else in the country, or only a couple other teams in the country. Still, Ryan Williams, that young receiver who is an absolute stud there. Um, their running back, Jam Miller, I do believe he is out for the year as of just earlier this week, which he's really good, but I have no doubt they have another guy or two that can step up. I mean, that school just breeds running backs there. So I'm not too concerned there. Yeah, they're going to have, their fair share of a tough schedule. Everyone in the SEC is. They have to go to Georgia. They play Tennessee. They're at South Carolina, who I think will be improved. Uh, Home against LSU and Oklahoma, I think that's positive to be at home for both those games. They finish at Auburn like they always do. They do have Florida State on the road in their first non-con game of the year. But yeah, I think Alabama, they're never going to be much of a down team. So I think they're always going to be alive to win this conference. It's kind of gross. It's minus 200 for them to make the playoff. I like it though. They could go under their win total of 9.5 and still make the college football playoff as a 9-win team in the SEC, depending on how it shakes out. I like Bama over their win total 9.5. That's minus 120. That's probably the better way that you could take that. I think obviously at Georgia is going to be their toughest test. Other than that, I think they're going to be favored in all their other games. So I would look for Alabama to have another kind of resurgent year, win 10 or 11 games, make the college football playoff. And obviously, if they make it that far, nobody is going to want to match up with them in the playoff. One team I will just quickly fade, and I know you a couple weeks ago made a video for your personal account about the first coach fired. I think Florida, Billy Napier, could potentially be the first coach fired. I know their schedule is somewhat tough early on. I think they have LSU early, maybe South Carolina,
Miami.
Miami. Yeah. But Florida's a school, if you're not winning 9-10 games a season, you're going to be on the hot seat. Like I said, I know they struggled early last year. They, I think, won out their last 5 or 6 games of the season to really save his job. But they have a lot of hype around that team now. And, you just can't be mediocre or even better than average at a school like Florida. They expect you to be really good fighting for the top of the SEC. So I think they could actually struggle early. Billy Napier would be my value bet to be the first coach fired in the college football season. But yeah, I'm just maybe a little bit down on Florida this season.
Yeah, I'm down on another team. I agree with your Florida take, but I'll say it in a second. I'm going to go just based off schedule, the ease of schedule. And again, there's no easy schedule in these SEC when you play. There's 10 ranked teams, so you're playing a ranked team every other weekend. But just having these tough teams at home, and that's Georgia. Georgia does play Alabama. They do play Texas. They do play Florida. They do play Ole Miss. Those are all home games. So they got a really lucky draw playing those really tough teams at home. They do travel to Tennessee, and I'm not going to be very high on Tennessee. I think they're going to struggle this year. So just based off schedule, I'm going to take Florida at plus 330. Texas is interesting. I still think they're going to be very good, as do I think Bama is going to be. But they just play some really tough road games, and Georgia just doesn't have that. So just based off schedule alone, I'll give out Georgia plus 330 to win the SEC. LSU is a very interesting team to me. I will be taking Clemson week 1 against LSU. Again, another phenomenal. Is that week 1 or is that week 2? I think it's week 1.
What game? LSU and
LSU Clemson.
Yes, week 1.
Okay, and we know how Brian Kelly does week 1. I don't think he's won a week 1 game, ranked game, and God knows when. So I think Clemson's going to win that game. I think LSU is going to be facing an uphill battle, but they're a very interesting team to me. Again, I agree with you. I can't stand Brian Kelly, Grand Valley guy, Notre Dame guy. I think he's just a big whiner. Don't like the guy that much, but I think they're going to be an interesting team. They got a phenomenal quarterback. They always have wide receivers. I think they're going to be. I would take their over 8.5 wins. I think they could be a 10-win team here. And then Texas, I think still thinks can be very good, but They're playing at Ohio State. They're playing at Georgia. They're playing at Florida. Then they do play Oklahoma and Texas A&M. So tough schedule for Texas. I'll just take Georgia squeaking by. And then that team, very comparable to me, to Illinois in our Big Ten preview, is South Carolina. South Carolina is number 13 this year. They had a phenomenal year, breakout year last year. Now their win total is at 7.5 at plus 140. So their true win total is at 7, and they're number 13 in the country. So I'm thinking, like Illinois, something's going on with this Vegas line. They do have a very tough schedule. They play at LSU, they play at Ole Miss, they play at A&M, they play Clemson. It's just an absolute battle of a schedule for South Carolina. So I think maybe a little regression after a breakout year last year we can see from South Carolina. And then a team that I think is going to be absolutely atrocious. And talk about first coach fired. I think it's going to be Auburn, man. Hugh Freeze. I think he's out. For some reason, they're ahead of Missouri. They're ahead of Oklahoma in win total. They're ahead of I guess the rest are pretty bad, but I think this Auburn team is going to be 4 or 5 wins. They'll probably give Alabama a run for their money at the end of the year just because they have nothing to play for, kind of similar to Michigan last year against Ohio State. But I think Auburn's going to be really bad. And then Vandy's always a question mark, especially I love their quarterback. I love their mentality they got going in at Vandy, but they're the Northwestern of the Big Ten. They just can't even compete with these guys. But I think they could squeak out 1 or 2 ranked wins against some big teams that might catch people off guard. So they're a team to keep an eye out for. Mississippi State, I don't know if it's going to win a conference game. Kentucky, I think, is going to be in the shitter. But yeah, I'm going to go with Georgia to win this one. Again, very tough conference, very tough to predict. But let us know who you guys have winning the SEC. And then make sure you do stay tuned for Better and Green as we are previewing every single Power 4 conference ahead of this college football season. But do you have anything to add on the SEC before we close out today?
Yeah, just 3 quick things. I fully agree with your take on Georgia as well. I think Georgia and Bama are the 2 teams that you should look at. If his name instead of Arch Manning was like Arch Johnson, they're probably 3rd favorite to win this conference. So I don't think there's any value betting Texas. So yeah, I do like Georgia or Bama to represent the SEC. Quick touch on South Carolina. Completely agree with you there as well. That's really going to come down to their quarterback Sellers, I believe. But yeah, I think they probably regress this season. And then Vanderbilt. Have you watched any of that SEC show on Netflix that just came out like 2 weeks ago?
I think I've seen some clips. I haven't watched the show though.
Okay. It's funny because they do an episode on Vanderbilt and they're like, you come to Vanderbilt to compete to win the SEC. And then they beat Alabama and tear the goalpost down and carry it 2 miles. I'm just like, it's just hilarious that I'm like, nobody has ever gone to Vanderbilt because they think they have a shot to win the SEC. But
yeah,
that's my final comment.
It's a great conference. I'm excited to see how it shakes down. But we appreciate you guys. Make sure you do stay tuned for Better and Green. Please like and subscribe and comment who you have winning the SEC. Until then, guys, we'll see you in the next episode. Later, guys.
Welcome to Better and Green, to Better and Green, to Better and Green, listening and cash out, that's what it's all about. Come on, let's make cash now. We always on spot and we cover all spot from the bottom to the top. Hey, shout out to Ethan, shout out to Wyatt, shout out to Ben. Welcome to our podcast, Better and Green.